Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Sunday and it is time for another live stream. Tonight we are going to be talking about the DJI V2 goggles when used with O3 and the fact that there is a very nice new mod that is somewhat out but coming that allows you to get full OSD on O3 with the V2 goggles, just like you can with FPV WTF on the original Air unit and the Vista. We're also going to talk a bit about the new Elegoo 3D printer, because I think that's quite interesting. We're going to talk about the Radiomaster Pocket, and I'm rubbing my face because I can't quite believe I have to talk about this, but I've seen something that has just blown my mind in stupidity, but we will move on from there. And I'm not calling any one person stupid, but we'll deal with that. And we will talk about anything else that comes along as well, including this, the new HDZero flight controller, which was a bit of a surprise. Video went out earlier in the week. Now, hello to everyone in the chat. I hope you are all safe and well. I hope you have all had a fantastic week. I'm a bit earlier this week because I'm not going to be able to go quite as long tonight. It's going to be a bit more of a condensed stream, but don't worry, there's plenty to talk about. It's been a quiet week. Overall, I don't think there's been a lot going on in FPV world. O4 is very broke and continues to be very broke. There is a video actually coming on O4 tomorrow and about what I actually think is the number1 problem with O4 today. And I will show you a bit of a sneak peek of the image of this actually. Let me just find it, because there's a pretty nasty problem with O4. And that pretty nasty problem is this, and that is the fact we are seeing more and more UFLs come off. Just more and more. And they are literally falling off if you look at them wrong. So, we're going to talk about this on tomorrow's video, and I'm also going to go through what you can do if you want to try and stop this happening, because what I do in the video is do a reflow around the UFLs. I think this isn't a manufacturing problem. It's not a design issue, but it is an issue that is inherently based on the way they're manufactured. And that is, when you use solder paste and then you place a component on top of it, that component floats on the surface of that liquid solder and doesn't really sit into it. It sits on the top of it. And what you're seeing here is the pad getting ripped off. And you can see the UFL was actually sitting on the top of the solder, and as a result of that, there's just no mechanical strength with lead-free solder because it's incredibly soft and it will rip out. And unfortunately, it's also taken the pad out with it. And this is, I believe, the #1 issue with O4 today. And the reason this is the #1 issue is because firmware can't fix it. There are lots of issues on O4 that need to be resolved, but that will be fixed with firmware. You can't fix this with firmware. This is a hardware issue. Now, DJI either need to start gluing these, they either need to start adding adhesive, or these need hand touching with solder before the manufacturing's finished. Just to show you, in the video, I actually do a complete reflow on the UFLs. Let me find it just to show you. O4, it'll be here somewhere. Oh, you've actually lost the file. Why have I... there it is, sorry. And what we actually do is reflow them under the microscope It's not the easiest task to do, I'll be honest with you. Not that one, that one. But what we actually end up doing, just to show you here, is getting in there with the conical tip. You need a lot of heat. That I can tell you. You do need a lot of heat to try and get it into the pad, because there's a large grounding area around it. But you also can't really use a chisel tip. I'm having to use a conical. And it's not easy to get into there. But I tidy it all up. I don't leave it looking rough, don't worry. And I'll show you what it looks like. When it's finished and cleaned up, you can see there how it looks. This is with leaded solder as well. So what you've now got is, yeah, 6337. Yeah. 6040, 6337, whichever the two it is. I can't remember. But what we have done is completely encapsulated the tags in the solder. And that will offer a lot more mechanical strength. You could preheat it. Yeah, you'd have to take the board out, but you'd have to, yeah, look, it's doable with the conical tip. No, you won't do that with hot air. You will melt these connections with hot air. You need to do this with an iron. But look, all of this is ground plane. This is the problem. So getting heat into it is tough. You need plenty of heat on the iron, and I really struggled with heat initially. I was having problems where I just couldn't get it to reflow. But look, this isn't for everyone, but I do show you, and look, at least then you can see that's solid. I don't touch the signal pins. There's no point touching the signal pin. If you haven't ripped it off, it's fine. You don't need to redo the signal pin. But it's about the mechanical strength on these here. The first picture you were on about earlier, so this is how it comes from the factory. MCFPV, I am hearing people even touching these, them falling off. This isn't just big crash damage. I am hearing these are coming out. And if you look at that, that is barely sitting on there. There is barely any solder on there at all. Barely any solder at all on there. Not easy, simply because of the amount of ground plane, because getting heat into it was hard. And what I was finding is it was just sucking the heat out of it. And if you haven't got a big enough tip, you can't get the heat into the board. But yeah, this one seems to be the most common. Potentially, yeah, it could be that DJI didn't heat enough. I also think it's a lack of solder. But it does look a bit cold. Yeah, and this could be as a result of the manufacturing process. But this is happening on many of them. And I think I've had over 20 people reach out. Do I know why there's a lack of 2.7K 100 and 4K 100? Well, you do have 4K 100, just not in 4x3 on 04. What you're asking is, why do you not have it in 4x3, I'm guessing, is the question. Chances are it's probably a sensor limitation mode. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, this isn't my image. This was shared with me. But yeah, you know, you could try and secure it a bit tougher on the top. There's little to no solder there. Mine haven't broke off because I haven't crashed any of mine. Mine haven't, because I haven't crashed any of mine, but I've sent a lot of, I've had a number of people reach out. But it's not even just rough handling. That's the pro version. I've not had anyone with the light have it happen, but that isn't to say it won't. That isn't to say it won't. But I think it's definitely the #1 problem with 04 today, the UFL issue. I also don't quite think the light is getting as bashed around as the Pro. Does it only happen if you're not, according to the people who have reached out to me? Very light. And looking at that, and look, this issue has happened on HDZero. We've had it happen on Avatar as well. The light has the cam plug problem. Yes, they have the cam plug problem. Sorry, before the UFL is coming off. Yeah, there is that. So, look, it's the number one issue, but there are issues everywhere. I'm getting a lot of questions around people saying they're getting really low bitrate on 04, especially on the Goggles 2 and Integra. I think you need to... 04 is highly dynamic and something... the number one issue is the ridiculously sensitive IMU causing microstuttering. That was there on 03. That's always been the case. That has been there since day one. The gyro is not soft mounted on 04. It was not soft mounted on 03. It is as sensitive as it was before. That's just the design. That's the nature of the beast. It's unfiltered. It's always been the same. It's not a new issue. It's hard to really even call it a new issue. It is what it is. It's always been there. I wouldn't... Look, I don't really know what we expect DJI to do about it because there's no space. What do you want them... Could they soft mount the gyro? I guess they could, but it's going to take up more space on the back of the camera sensor. It's the nature of the beast. This is the issue, and it's not a new issue either. It really isn't a new issue. If we go to FPV Wiki... It's not, this has been around a long time. This problem, if we look at, and it's not really a problem, it's just the inherent nature of the design of the camera. So if we go to 03 first, because this is probably the best one to look at. So the 03 gyro is under that sticker on the back of the camera. Okay, it's just hiding there on 03. On 04, it's the same. So on the Pro Air unit, the gyro is... let's do the Pro first. Let's get down here. So here's the Pro. There's the gyro. Now, it is a different gyro on the Pro. It isn't the same gyro. But there's the gyro on the Pro, just mounted on the board at the side. And then on the Lite, the gyro is there. On the top of the camera. Now, I just don't know how they are meant to do it any different. I just don't know. It is the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, I just don't know how they're meant to make it any better. So I think, look, the UFL is the number one. There are absolutely a lot of people getting vibration. Interestingly, we'll have a look at some footage. I did some footage earlier. I was flying it today. I have to... all of the lowest... On 04, the lowest latencies are the 100 frames a second. They're all the same, basically. 100 frames a second. It looks really nice. I will say this, though. I'm not sure it's dramatic in good daylight from 03. It looks nice, and it always did, and 04 Pro looked nice. On the Avatar 2. But 03 looks really nice in good light. I'll be interested to have a look at the footage we'll have a look at in a minute on 04, because... where is it? Here it is. I was flying this today. I was flying the brand new... oh my god, I bent my antennas, look. Oops. I had it in the back of the bag and threw it down. It's not good. push them in a little bit further to straighten that up. I was flying it in the Era today with Kiss Ultra, and this is the Ultra Nano, the small one, the mini. I love how Kiss Ultra flies out the door. I have to say, and I'm going to say this again. So, brand new build, Kiss Ultra, and this has got the mini in it, okay? So if I go to the overhead, it's got the mini in there with the Voltara 50 amp stack. Okay? I love how this flies out the door. Betaflight came a long way in how it behaves tuned, but I have to say I really liked how Ultra flies. Now this was just some specific Beach 04 testing, so this was long. I was just going back and forth on the beach to see how it was picking up the vibes, and I haven't even looked at this yet. So the last ones, let me just figure out where that's vanished to. Oh, that's the split of the image. Now this flight has Rocksteady turned on. So all I was doing on this was just doing some runs along the water to see how it looked with Rocksteady, and I wanted to see if I was getting any vibrations or anything on it, because I haven't looked at this. Ooh. I have no idea what this will look like. If I'm getting any vibrations, any stutters, and I start doing some water runs in a minute. A little, but that looks not too bad. That don't look too bad at all with gyro flow, because it's quite a hard front end on the Era. It's got soft mounting, but it's not very soft mounted. And what I was looking at is to see, you know, because I've had people tell me that even on Rocksteady it was looking bad. That's all right. That is okay. Now, I did also do some flights with gyroflow turned off to see what it looked like. Obviously, props are in view. This isn't an out-and-out 03 filming. Looks nice. Looks really nice. It was some really nice light for 04 today. Cloud cover, dark areas, but also some real... Yeah, you're getting it played back to a live stream as well, though, remember. This was in 100 frames a second as well. I'm not at all disappointed in that. I was intrigued to see what it was like, because I've had people really telling me it's really bad. And this was a brand new build. Again, I wanted just to keep it very simple, very straight. Okay, there was a little wobble there. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. And this is on the Era, and it's quite a hard mount on the front of the Era. I do have a spotter with me hiding up there. You might see her in a minute. Any wind? No. There was no... Any winds on that? Nothing. It was... You can see how calm it was today. It was beautiful today. 4K recorded. 4K. So if we look at the tools, media information... 4K 100 frames a second. I'm pleased with that. I'm actually really pleased with that. Only thing I was really struggling with Kiss Ultra is the throttle at the factory is a little bit sensitive for me. I like a lot more expo. Oh, did you see it then? Did you catch that then? There was a wobble on the turn, look. Oh. That was a bit of a... Oh, yeah, it's a bit more at height. I'm probably getting a little bit of wind at height. This was amazing light today as well because it's really dark. It was quite grey in area. That looks phenomenal. That is just how 04 looks out the door is just phenomenal. 03 would have been noisy as hell on that. It really would have been really noisy. 03 would have been. Split the file, didn't it? Bit more wind now. You can see the wind was coming up. Now you can start to see. Look at that. Now you can... But this frame isn't really that optimized. Bye-bye for hobby stuff. Yeah. Honestly. Oh. It just looks so good. The only thing I'm... Oh, bugger off. The Era does have the props in flight, unfortunately, so it's not really a thing in frame. Only thing I'm really struggling on Kiss, right, is the throttle is a little bit too sensitive for me. I was saying it earlier. It was me messing around then. I find the throttle is just a little bit too sensitive. I need to adjust the expo. That's all. I really do like how Ultra flies out the door. Just to show this quickly, this was... Is this the first flight? This you will laugh at. Look at this. Tell me what you think's wrong. Who can guess what's wrong? Wait for it. Why can't I take off? Should we try this one? Was this one the same? I put the two back props on the wrong sides. So the fronts were fine, but the back two were opposite way around. So the back was sucking down and the front was lifting up. And I'm sitting there going, and I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I did it. I was rushing to get out this morning and I hadn't put props on it. And I do have a video on my phone, and I don't know if you'll see it on the video on my phone. And yeah, we all do it every now and again. We all do it every now and again. I'm sitting there going, it's not moving. Why is it not moving? And I had to look at it for a minute. And yeah, but the back two was sucking, the front two was lifting. But yeah, it happens. It even happens to us all. Genuinely, this is the first time I've had aircraft in the air for months. And this was the very first flight in self-level mode. I always test in self-level mode to make sure it's doing what it should be doing. Brand new build, never flown before. At this point, I was adjusting my goggles because I wasn't happy with the fitment. Just making sure everything is moving in the directions it should. And then I dropped it into acro. Always test in self-level mode. Always. I always do it as my first takeoff. Just to make sure it doesn't do anything crazy. This was the very first flight with the new build. And this is the small case. Just moving it around the beach a little bit, checking it does everything it should be doing, keeping it away from water at this point. Always just making sure it's doing what it should. The way Kiss Air mode works is fine. I have to say, genuinely, this was the basic stock tune, so it was a little tame. I upped it on the next build. This is without gyroflow as well. This is without stabilization as well. But this was just first test on an aircraft down the beach. First time I've flown for months. I am all over the place. I am certainly not anywhere near. But just wanted to make sure it was doing. I haven't tried the new alpha recently. I genuinely have to say, I think if I was building someone a quad who'd never flown before, I'd build them an Ultra. I am really impressed with how Ultra is now at the box. I really like it. I really do like how it flies and feels. And it's so quick to set up. That's the one thing I have. It is so quick to set up. It really is. I'll have to order in another G4 because I burnt the last one out underwater. I did try Alpha in the early days and I didn't have a great experience. I had to move the eye gain incredibly. So, look. That's that. That's where we're at on that. 04 is getting in. There are loads of quirks, though. Just to wrap up 04, and I'm only now starting to do my proper flight testing on 04 this week. The weather here in the UK has been horrific. I have not been able to fly for months because of the weather. And I'm only now starting to do it. And that's why I'm behind on the content, because I can't talk about something properly from an image perspective that I haven't tried. And that's what I've been waiting to do. We've done all the bench testing, but it now needs real work. I think it looks fantastic. I have to say, when you look at how that footage looked today in that light, it is hands down ahead. Hands down ahead of 03. But it isn't over for 03. And this leads us very nicely into something new. And this new is this. So if we go to the desktop, this is by a person called Ex-Nuclear Squirrel. And he has released what's called 03 Custom Fonts. Now, just to make sure everyone understands this, when using the V1 and V2 goggles, V1 and V2 only, not Goggles 2, Integra, or Goggles 3, you can obviously have FPV WTF with the original ear unit, the DJI ear unit, the Cadex Vista. And you can install FPV WTF and you can have all of the lovely fonts and all of the lovely OSD. However, you couldn't have that with 03. When using 03 on these goggles, you were limited back again to the basic DJI OSD. However, this person has created a mod for the V2 goggles. You don't need to do nothing on the 03 ear unit. You don't flash this. You don't do nothing. This stays as it is. You don't touch this at all. You simply flash your goggles, and I was making a video on this today, and it's a little bit complex to do it, but there is a package for WTF coming, and with the support of the amazing Sneaky FPV, who's got loads of cool stuff going on right now, and I'll talk about that a bit more later on, he's been able to introduce on 03 full custom OSD. That means full iNav OSD, full Betaflight OSD, all of the colours, everything properly. Now, just to be crystal clear, this is only on the V2 goggles. This cannot be done on the Goggles 2. This cannot be done on the Goggles Integra. This cannot be done on the Goggles 3. Only Goggles V2. You can also then have full KISS Ultra OSD as well. I saw this video showing, so this is on 03 with the lovely KISS Ultra OSD system. So you can have that on there as well. KISS Ultra OSD on 03, which looks really, really nice. You cannot record the OSD, but there are tools for doing that now to allow you to add it on afterwards. So this is a really cool development. I've installed it today. I've tested it today. Really cool. Really cool indeed. When the package is available, I'll release the video. I was making a video on how to do this now, but I believe the package is going to be here in a day or two. Maybe a little bit longer. So I'll wait for the package to come out and I'll make a video on how to do it. But it's really cool to see. And you can install then any of the font packs. And it's great to see some love. You know, you've got the full, real nice font pack there. And look. The great news is the work is done on the V2s. The route exists, which means it can all be done. There is no route for Goggles 2 Integra or Goggles 3 at this moment in time, or any of these hacks in place, and I don't know if they ever will. The truth is today, I don't know if there ever will be hacks for the Goggles 2, Goggles Integra, or Goggles 3. And this is complicated. This isn't about it's impossible. This isn't about it can't be done. The truth of the matter is some incredible people, amazing people who I deem as friends in the FPV world did an insane amount of work to hack these goggles. But those guys have to move on with their lives. And this is often the case in hacking and things like this. These guys have their own lives. They have their own work, their jobs. They've moved on to other things. And right now in FPV WTF, there's somewhat of a sort of a lull of development because there's no one to really do it. We need some experienced people who know what they're doing to want to get involved and put hundreds and thousands of hours in potentially to make it happen. Hundreds at least. The truth is, these guys who did it, they put in hundreds of hours of their time for nothing. There ain't enough donations that would have made the payback for the time it took. It was never about them making money. There isn't enough money in FPV to make it necessarily worth their time to develop it. It needs someone who wants to do it. And that's where we struggle today. Now, someone asked earlier a question. Would it be possible to hack the V2s to Elegoo 4? No. Impossible. End of. Not even possible. You cannot hack support for something that it's never had. It's like saying, can I hack my Windows PC to run ARM-based Mac OS? It's just not the same. You can't hack in something that isn't there. As much as the amazing work the FPV WTF team have done, they've only done it within a certain area of the goggles. You have to remember, you've got the really low level hardware stuff, you've got the closed proprietary radio stuff, and then you've got the Linux OS on the top. FPV WTF is messing around in the Linux OS area. We're not in the deep RF area where DJI have still got things really very much closed down. So you're going to have to understand that you can't hack in support for something that's brand new. The Vito's will not have 04 as far as I know. Never will. You're going to have to change your goggle. As for Goggles 2, Integra and Goggles 3 having hacks, look, we're going to need some people. We need people to get involved. The challenge is really simple. If there is anyone out there who feels they can carry on with the FPV WTF team left off, go for it. But it's going to take someone with a hell of a lot of experience, time and effort. You know, we can support with hardware. Hardware can be done. If people need ear units and people need goggles, that can be made to happen. I will find a way of making that happen myself. I will sponsor a set of goggles. I will send you mine if you can commit to doing it. And that's not I'm giving away a set of goggles. Look, I sent my goggles to Yahoo years ago to get Ardra support working. Look, I'm happy to do stuff, but I'm not a developer. I'm an idiot. I can't do that stuff. It would be amazing if there was a root hack on the goggles too, But I'm not sure, and I got to be careful what I say here. I don't think the back doors exist in that as they do in the V2s. Today, the guys have a door in this that DJI can never close. DJI can never fix these goggles so they can't be routed. The guys basically have a permanent way in. I don't believe that's the case on the goggles 2 and Integra and others. And yeah, that's it is. But look, this isn't, you know, the WTF team are amazing. They're all amazing. You know, Junius and the guys are fantastic, but they have their own lives and they have stuff to do and they have work now and they have jobs and they have families and they have things to do. We saw this, and this is just an observation I'll make on it. I saw exactly the same thing the first time around. For those who were around on the RC Groups days when KF, Kevin Finisterre, and the others first hacked the DJI consumer drones, you had this real tight-knit group of people who did all of the hacking, and then once it was done, the challenge was over, they moved back into their existing worlds. And then those gaps got filled by the likes of Drone Hacks, Drone Tweaks and others, but you never really had that team of hackers doing it continuously. And it's the same with FPV WTF. There was an amazing group of people who got involved because it's like, we want OSD. And they forced it. But those guys have now moved on and got on with their lives. So, you know, we're left with what DJI give us. It would be amazing to have a hack where we could replace the fonts. That would be really cool. No, we haven't gone on to HDZero yet. So look, this is really nice. This is really cool. And it's nice to see. Now, I mentioned earlier Sneaky FPV. Now, this man is up to something new as well, because I'm going to talk about this in a separate video, actually. And I haven't even seen this myself. But this is his new OSD overlay tool. And what you were talking about earlier was, how can we overlay this OSD? Well, now you can, because he has a tool that allows you to do it. Now, you can see here, he's getting it set up. And he's configuring it, and he's got the OSD file, which is created with this mod, and it also is created in a few other ways as well. And you can see that it overlays the DJI OSD in onto your footage. Just watching him detect, and he's just getting it set up. Set the start. He's setting the mark in the start and the end. Frame by frame. Set the end. I need to understand how this works exactly. Start the processing. And here we go. We'll wait for it. Quite CPU intensive. I can see he's just smashed out 4.4 gigs. So it's doing the rendering. I'm not going to play the whole thing, and then we'll get back and we'll see what the outcome looks like. There we go. So he's now looking, and it has that OSD overlaid on the top. Does he show that as a full... There you go. And it's overlaid the OSD onto the video. That's really cool. I want to see that again there. Look, there you go. So he's got it there. That it's overlaid the OSD onto the video. That's really nice. That's really nice. Now, this video is on YouTube. I will share a link to it. It's on Shannon Baker's page. I'm going to have a proper play with this before I can talk about it properly. I'm going to jump to there. And you can see there, look. That's like the overlay without the video on it as a PNG, basically, or a transparent. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. That's from Sneaky. And he's got the OSD font libraries in there as well. That's really cool. I'll have to make a proper video about that, but do check out his page. If you want to know where Sneaky is, that's his page there. Very cool indeed. Very, very cool indeed. Definitely worth checking out that. Did this program change names? I don't know. That's really cool. That's really cool. Okay, so DJI, everything over. 04's a load of crap. No one should buy it. It's got loads of issues. No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is something I can't quite believe I have to talk about, but I'm going to do this and I'm then going to cut this as a separate video. So I'm going to go wide. Right, no, I'm not. I'm going to go in here. Sod it. Now, there seems to be a rumour running around that the Radio Master Pocket can actually be flashed to give you 1 watt of RF output. Now, I saw a post about this and people talking about this, and if we go onto the overhead, let's get it here. Here you've got my Radio Master Pocket. I've taken it apart, and the reason I've taken it apart is I've connected a UFL fly lead. Let me just undo that off the RF power meter. Out of mine on the RF module that you can see there. Oh, I had until I moved it and it fell off. So I can physically measure the RF output from the module. Now, this rumor seems to be that if you flash this radio with the firmware for the Radio Master Boxer, you will get 1 watt of RF output. Now, I can tell you straight that this is complete and utter BS, tosh, nonsense, and is not true, but I'm also going to prove it to you. So, we're going to power up my Pocket a minute.
Welcome to HTX.
We're going to go into the menu, and I'm going to show you that we have this on the Pocket firmware, the correct firmware, and that is as it comes from the factory. Now, I'm going to go down and set this on 250 Hertz to the maximum RF output, which is 250 milliwatts. Now, if I show you here on my RF power meter, you can see that we're measuring about 25.8, 25.9 dBm, or about nearly 400 milliwatts of RF output. Now, I don't want you to get too hung up on these numbers, okay? 399, 400. Okay, look, that is definitely more than the 250 that is specified at, and this meter is accurate, so this one is pushing out probably close to 400 milliwatts. But the fact is, we're going to use this number as a reference. Lose the fact that it's 400 milliwatts, understand that the maximum RF output at 250 milliwatts is 390, 400 milliwatts, 25.9, 600 dPm. If you put the dynamic on, obviously it'll go right down to 11. You want dynamic off, so you're up to 400. So that is correct, okay? That is as it comes from the factory. Now, the maximum RF power we can set on this is 250. We cannot set more than 250 milliwatts on this radio. Now, as I've said, It seems to be the case that people think if you flash it with the firmware for the Boxer, it gives you the option to set it to 1 watt, and it gives you 1 watt of RF output. Well, I'm going to prove to you how much nonsense this is. So, let me just get myself sorted here. So, we're going to go back to the desktop, and we are going to flash this as a Boxer internal. It's flashed as a Boxer. We're going to flash it as a Boxer, and then we're going to measure the power output again. Now, unfortunately, this comes from people not understanding how Express ELRS works or how the power control works. In Express ELRS, your RF power setting is mapped to a number that drives the RF output on the power amplifier. Now, on one radio, maximum output might be number 10, and on another radio, maximum output might be number 9. But you can set that depending on the radio, and you can set that depending on the firmware. You could also, though, have 2 radios that both have the maximum output at 10, but one has that at 250 and one has that at 1 watt. It doesn't mean the radio can do 1 watt. And the fact is, the module in this radio cannot do 1 watt of RF output. Now, we flashed it, so we're going to go back to the overhead. I'm going to unplug and power down and then power back on. And then we're going to look at it again. So now we're back on, and just to prove it now thinks it's a Boxer. Boom, it now says Radio Master Boxer along the top. I'm just going to pull that down a little bit so you can see the RF power meter. Now, if we go down to TX Power, we now have the option of setting it much higher. So for instance, we can go up to 250 milliwatts, which you can see there. Remember, 250 milliwatts before was giving us about 400 milliwatts of RF output. Oh look, 250 milliwatts is now giving us 100 milliwatts of RF output. We can keep going to 500. 500 is giving us about 200 milliwatts of output, exactly half of what we were getting before. And 1000 is now giving us a little bit more power. I am going to concede that we're pushing now, 410, 420. It was more hovering before, 390. We're getting a little bit more power because it is driving the PA a bit harder, but it is not giving you 1 watt of RF power because this radio cannot do 1 watt of RF power. Now, there is a way that you could actually make this get to this number without having to flash it with the Boxer firmware. You could just reconfigure it in the settings, which I'm not going to show you how to do. But what I did want to just prove is that it is complete and utter nonsense that you can flash the radio to give you 1 watt of RF power. It doesn't matter what it says here. This is just a number based on a setting mapping and not what the actual radio is doing. Now, I can't quite believe I've had to make this. If I'm honest, I can't believe it's just like, oh, come on. So no, you can't flash it. You could use the Boxer's module inside. People have done that. That is possible. Takes a mod, but yeah, you could absolutely do that. Software cannot give you more RF power if the power amplifier isn't capable. Can you make power that gives you 300 watts? Honestly, at times it's like, come on. Come on. Now, we could actually, if I'm going to flash this back, right? because you can actually just do the configuration in hardware.
Welcome to HDX.
So if we flash this back to what it should be a minute, right? So we're going to go back in the configurator. Let's flash it back to a pocket because that's what it is. Pocket internal. Let's just reflash that. I at times I do wonder. A lot of cool mods you can do on the Pocket. Just added springs under my SA and SD buttons. That's cool. It's a great little radio, the Pocket. It really is a great little radio. I just can't quite believe that people just think flashing the firmware now gives 1 watt of RF output. It's just... Now, to do this mod, we're going to need to put it into... Interesting to know 250 is 400. Yeah, it's definitely pushing power. And that meter is accurate. I use that meter for testing all of my other RF modules, and they're usually pretty close. The fact that that is pushing closer to 400 is rather interesting. Indeed. So we're reflashed.
Welcome to HDX.
Let's go back on overhead.
Level warning.
Let's see what we're doing. So we're back in the normal mode. Let's just check. 250 milliwatts. There you go. So again, we're back in the normal mode and we're back to as we were before. Now, I'm just going to set it to minimum power a minute, and I'm going to turn it on to Wi-Fi mode because we need to enable Wi-Fi. I am then going to show you something. So if we go into the Wi-Fi, right, let me just get the Wi-Fi up and connect to it. What about heat at 400? Well, it's running at that all the time. Did I test the Boxer? Yeah, the Boxer I tested to 1 watt. I'm just trying to get the Wi-Fi to connect. It's always a bit of a bugger. Here we go. So, we can go to the homeway. So, if we go into the hardware page, under here is the settings for the module. And under here somewhere will be the settings for the power levels. Ah, here we are. Here's the power level values. So look, minimum is 10, maximum is 250. We can actually change this in here, right? I can actually change this. I can change this and save this so it will show max power at 1 watt. But it doesn't mean it can do 1 watt. If we now look, 10, you've got default. So what you've got here is the power settings. 25, 13, 15, minus 2. I wonder what the setting is on the Boxer. Let's have a look. Because if we check the setting on the Boxer, right, this will tell me what it's driving it to.
Welcome to HDX. Switch warning.
So, if we now exit the Wi-Fi and I turn it on my Boxer, we'll check it now to see what it's going to. Enable Wi-Fi. We'll go back onto Wi-Fi Express. So we're going to connect on this one. And we'll see. Put 0, not minus 2. Yeah, let's have a look what the box is at. I'm intrigued because that'll be how to get it to the same number. Yeah, I'm on. Connect. Yeah, open a new tab. I'm just trying to get it to connect to the Wi-Fi. It really is a bitch at times. It might be a bit close, if I'm honest. And I might want to turn this radio off. That might help. Because that radio was transmitting as well. Come on. Try again. Ooh, has it connected? Yes. Okay, so we're on the Boxer now. There you go, look, -1. That's how close it is. The Pocket is -2. This is -1. That's how close it is. It's not giving you any more RF power. It's basically the same. So you got 10, 25. So you got on this 25, 50, 100, 250, 501 watt. 10, 25, 50, 100, 250. So this is the interesting thing, look. 100 is now -6, whereas 10, 25, 50, 100. Yeah, there you go. It's just... So all I would want to do, if I actually wanted to get a little bit more RF output on the Pocket... So, if we just now turn this off on the Boxer, right? So if we turn the Boxer off and the Pocket back on, we'll just do this to show you.
Welcome to HDX. Throttle warning.
So, we'll go back on the Pocket and we will measure it again before we move on. So we will go into the menu, we'll measure it, do the change, and then measure it again. So we're going to go to 250, and you can see that we're getting 387, 390, 380 to, you know, pretty consistent there. Okay. Let's go into the Wi-Fi. Turn the Wi-Fi on. Reconnect to it again, because it will take us a while. We'll then go to 10 hardware. So we're now in the Pocket. We will go down and we will set that to -1. Okay, that's what we're going to set it to. Save target configuration. Reboot. Back to the overhead. And there you go, look. Now we've got that same RF power output basically that we had earlier. We might need to do a repower. Let's just power it down and power it back on.
Welcome to HTX. Throttle warning.
And there you go, look. You've now got that bit of extra power. It's a bit all over the place. Put it up to 250. Oh. So you can get it to do it. Doesn't seem quite as stable, but you can mess with the settings to get it. It's just not worth the messing around, as someone says. More than anything, what a load of tosh. Don't do it. Your radio cannot do it. It's not possible. So, there we go. Okay. Now, a couple of things I just want to catch up on. This week, obviously, HDZero released this, their new flight controller. For those who didn't see it, they have released a flight controller, a standard flight controller. It is not HDZero in the sense of it doesn't have HDZero digital built in. It is a 20 by 20 mountain pattern flight controller, digital only, H743, available in 2 gyro options, MPU 6000 or ICM 4268P. It has a proper Diversity Gemini capable ExpressRS receiver built in, dual antennas, dual RF front ends with an ESP32 chipset, proper diversity, not just limited diversity, and it is really quite nice indeed. Two seconds. No, the Bandit cannot do 2 watts. Only the Ranger can do 2 watts. It's a very nice flight controller. It's a very, very nice flight controller. Now, it was a bit left field because it doesn't have HDZero built in. It doesn't have any digital system built in. But it is interesting to have HDZero enter the world of flight controllers. Price-wise, I think it's available in 2 versions. So if you go to HDZero's website, it's either, I think it's $60 and $80 off the top of my head. If we just go to the HDZero website, I can't quite remember. Yeah, $64.99 or $84.99, I think it is. Yeah, so $64.99 or $84.99, depending on the model you choose. H743, quite nice. You know, look, what's not to like about it? Really well made, nicely put together. Not for the analog guys, no analog OSD on board, so sorry about that. Fully Betaflight capable. ExpressRS receiver as well is not SPI, that is UART based. It's on a proper UART, full ExpressRS functionality, no limitations to it in any shape or form. Dual Becks on board, has I think it's not, I need to check. Like, I made a video on this, but I can't remember every spec off the top of my head. It's definitely got dual Becks. It's actually got triple Becks. It's got a 4.5, a 5 volt, and I think it was 9. Let me just check. Yeah, it is 9 volt, 3 amp. So, 9 volt, 3 amp. And you can see the 2 Becks there. So, fully digital capable, all the power in the world. And here's what's really cool about this, right? HDZero have fully wired, this little plug here is for digital FPV. Now, obviously, they're going to want you to wire it with HDZero. But don't worry, if you don't want to use it with HDZero and you want to use it with the big nasty 3-letter company like DJI is, it is not only pin compatible, it also has the receiver mapped to this as well if you wanted to use the DJI remote. But I'm going to tell you now, you should never use the DJI remote, okay? Never, ever, ever use that $3 piece of plastic crap that you are getting ripped off for and frankly deserves nothing more than death by fire. But if you did want to use it, it is wired to allow you to do so. Overall, what is not to like? I think the price is great. Look, there are cheaper AT32 controllers out there, but they're AT32. This is a H743, 480 megs. This ain't no slouch. 16 megs of onboard black box storage. Really is a very, very nice flight controller. I would like to see a 30 by 30 version as well. I know it means putting something else out, but I would like to see a 30 by 30 just because of, I don't really build quads with 20 by 25s, 20 by 20s. In fact, the first quad I've built with a 20 by 20 recently is the KISS Ultra Mini build. I would like to see 30 by 30. I don't want anything more on it. I just want a 30 by 30 version. Because I like 30 by 30. I love the idea of having the Express ELRS receiver built in. That is a real nice touch. That really is a real nice touch. How about a 30 by 30 with an ESC built in? I don't know how I feel about an ESC built in. It's always that risk, isn't it? Like, it's not a bad idea. It's just, if you burn the ESC, you burn the flight controller. That's always my worry. If you imagine having a 30 by 30, here was an incredibly interesting thought. Imagine having a 30 by 30 with the ESC built in and Express ELRS on board. All you're doing is plugging in a digital VTX. What a setup that is. How clean is that gonna be? How clean is that? Yeah, someone just spotted something. About the only thing I could complain about is no barrow. No barrow. Barrow, please. But look, it's a bit of a left field one. I didn't expect HDZero just to make a flight controller. You know, Carl puts a lot of effort into all of the things he does. I tell you something, if you're looking to get yourself a 30 by 30 flight controller, it's definitely worth a look. And there are some real nice little touches on this that I didn't even cover in the video. So for instance, I did mention that the holes are plated, but they are not grounded. So those plated holes there are not grounded to the ground ports, which means it's not going to earth your quad. There are people who care about that kind of thing. It's got great LED functionality. Yeah. USB-C port. Always good to see a USB-C port. What's not to like? You know, literally, what is not to like about this flight controller? Even castellated pads around the side. Look, fully castellated. It's a beast. Really is. It's hard to say any more than that. Honestly, it really is. Is the USB gold plated or just Captain tape? Captain tape. Yeah, Captain tape. Yeah, just Captain on the top. You can see the silver there on the front. Very cool. Very cool indeed. I'd like to see a barrow. What's not to like? $65. Look, there's cheaper out there, but you're going to be lucky to find cheaper. That's going to offer decent, you know, functionality. The same spec, you know, H743. Diversity 2.4, yes, full diversity. Not antenna diversity, RF diversity. It has dual SX1280 chipset, so it's even Gemini capable, which means you can use it with the full Gemini 500 or 250 modes. ICM versus MPU, I'm not good enough to know the difference. I'm more than happy with the ICM. I don't. There was absolutely a period where the gyros weren't great, but I think Betaflight and I think all of the flight stacks have somewhat got on top of it now. There was early days issues, but Rossa covered this. Wasn't there some option that you had to enable that people didn't know about in the early days on the ICM gyro? It needs a cleaner power supply, yes. And you do see that. If you look at like Speedy B and the others, they all very much mention an LDO on board. The one that did had bad power. Yeah, like I know HDZero don't really mention it like an LDO, but if you do look at like Speedy B, they all mention having a specific LDO for the the gyros. And I'm sure there was also an option. I need to read back on this. I'm sure there was an option that Rosser found out about, and it was introduced in Betaflight and the others. I'm sure there was. It's in one of Rosser's long time ago videos when he's not making a music video. I'm also, and I'm going to say it, disappointed that Chris was overlooked at the Grammys this week and he didn't win in his category for Best FPV Music Video of 2024. I think it's disappointing that the likes of bearded white men get overlooked for winning, you know, Grammys for stuff like that. And I just want to say solidarity, brother. That was for the BMI 270. Yes. Hang in. Oh, got your hat piece. Why can't I get my 04 Lite to record on board? I have auto recording set on. It's set to record on both. And the shortcut menu, I select record only DVR. Someone else has mentioned this. I've not seen this yet. Let me test it, Stu. So when you arm, are you getting the recording icon flash up? Have you formatted the onboard storage? Because remember, there's 20 gigs in there. There's 20... No, sorry. How much is that? 24 gigs on the... I can't remember now. Off the top of my head. How much is on the Lite? Is it 20 gigs of onboard storage? Are you getting it? So it's arming on takeoff. Someone else has mentioned they couldn't find any footage. Try format. Have you formatted the onboard storage first? Because that would be my first protocol. Nothing showing recording when I arm. Only the DVR is recording. No, you can't get 2 watt on the Radio Master Bandit. Ciotti had the same issue. Have you updated the firmware on the 04 Lite Air unit from the factory? Have you updated it to the latest firmware? Because there was an unofficial, official public firmware release. Yeah, latest firmware on both 03, N3 and Lite. That's weird. Let me do some tests. Because it should give you the recording icon to show it's recording. My Lite's in a quad because one of them has a camera that doesn't work, so I can't even test it this second. I'm going to have to go test it in a quad. Ciari forgot he deleted the files, lol. Is that what it was? If not, hit me up on... that's weird. Okay, I'll double check you and I'll send you a message. That's weird. But look, HDZero, very nice to see. Cardex, look, there's no news from Cardex. I can't really talk about Cardex. There's really nothing to say at the moment. There's no news on this new thing coming. There's no news on a V2 system. There's really no news. The last thing I talked about on the Cardex was the repeater, which was good to talk about. I think it's an interesting product. But look, I tell you now, anyone who flies 04 and anyone who flies Cardex, you are going to see a dramatic difference. And I mean, I have complained and bitched and moaned about the smearing on everything on 04 for a very long time. And it was always very much overlooked. Everyone was going, oh, it's fine, I don't care. Now they've seen 04, they care. It's got... Cardex are a long way off. They're a long way off 03, let alone 04. How's the Vista with 03 firmware on old firmware versus old firmware on V2s? You get more range. Couldn't you change? Yes, but the Spang, that module is limited to 1 watt. That module cannot do any more than 1 watt. We were told that by the ExpressOS devs. It's limited to 1 watt. That's it. It is only the Ranger that could go to 2 watts. The Bandit could not. Cool t-shirt. Yeah, I was sent this one by Flytribe. I wonder if it's an issue with S-Bus or UART. It really... Look, it's the one thing it should do, Stu, is start recording automatically. If you're not recording automatically, the next thing to try is manual recordings. The manual recording you can do from the menu. And does it record on board if you set manual recording? First thing to separate off is it not recording on takeoff or is it not recording at all? So set the manual recording, set it as you say onto the DVR and see what it does. I have OSD, UARTs are fine. I do set manual record, only DVR. When you say only DVR records, what do you mean? Goggles DVR? Just to confirm, Stu, what you mean. Do you mean only goggles record? Yeah, the only thing I recall is the O4 unit doesn't start blinking, etc. ever. Weird. Weird. Because what you should have is this. Now I'm going to have to grab a battery quickly from that. What you should get... And this isn't going to be easy to show. Actually, it shouldn't be too hard to show, actually. I frickin' hate turning on the Goggles 3. And I want a fan. We always have a fan on the bench. And the bench power supply set at 16 volts. Who knew PC fans would love 16 volts? I didn't. Okay. So we're going to want to stop this thing setting itself on fire. Because it will. We're going to want to connect my phone. And connect in this battery. Actually, let's connect in the pocket. I'll use the pocket. Let me just put the antenna connector back on. There we go. I'll need to screw this back together later on, but I don't need to do it this second.
Welcome to HDX. Throttle warning.
Let's just make sure I don't have 250 milliwatts of RF power, because we don't need that. And that isn't legal in the UK. There we go. Sorted. Okay, so. If we power this on and check. Ta-da! I need to set these to the correct mode because O4 is bloody stupid. And why, DJI? Why could you not put the bloody ear units in order in the menu? Why is everything all over the frickin' place? Why? So you can see on screen. We're going to come down from the top and we want to share live view. Yes, turn it on. No, not now. Oh god, the remote controller is falling apart. Goggles 3, connect. And let's see if that works. Overhead, boom. You can't see that. Why can't you see that? There you go. Now you can see it. Come on. I need to redo the OSD on this. Boom. Okay. So, you can see there, we're on the light. So this is on this one, which is the light. So, settings-wise, we have as follows. Oh, no, we're not there. So, if we go into camera, we're in 1080p 60, 4:3. We'll just leave it in that a minute. Actually, no, let's go 1080p 100. Rocksteady's turned on. Why not? Advanced camera settings, camera view recording for the goggles, auto record on takeoff, that's all on. Record with set to both. So what should happen is if all goes well and I can actually arm on this, let's see if this actually happens. No, I can't arm. Let me just...
Receiver still connected.
Why is... Oh, what is going on here?
Receiver still connected.
Let me put it on the boxer. A second. Let me put it on the boxer. Must be a boxer. Must be a boxer.
Welcome to HDX. Switch warning.
Let me just repower that. Well, that's annoying. What is going on? Ah, it's woke up on the receiver now. Right, okay. So, if I arm, you can now see both are recording. You should then have both recording up here just like that. You don't get two images. You just get the one which shows it's recording. There we go. And then if I plug it in now, and bearing in mind, I've probably got to plug this in while it's powered up to get to the drive. It might not show, but no files are on the files. So we'll power, it's probably got to be powered up because I haven't checked. But let's find it. Where's the port? There it is, over there. Let's plug him in. That is tight. Sorry, well, there's quite a big USB port. Let me get my smaller one. That cable's a bit thick. Let me use my smaller one. That one is a bit of a pain. I don't want to break the port off the board. That one's not much better. Ah, it's in. Bit of a squeeze, but it's in. So then, if we go to the desktop, we should have DCM, video, and I'm going to assume it's that one. And there we go. Weird. So, are you not getting any storage, Stu? Do you not? Does it have a DJI folder at all? Have the drive and it's empty. I wonder if it's a bad E unit. I can read the drive. Here's a question, Stu. Try this. Will it let you put a file onto the drive? Right, Stu. Reboot the E unit, and is that file still there? DCM file. Will it let you put something on there? Is the question. Doing it now, 1 second. But Stu can get it on the goggles, but he can't get it on the ear side, is what he was saying. FPV Danny, thank you for the $5 super chat. Now we need to get onto these before we wrap this stream up. Viewer activity. So we've had a couple of super chats, which I'm only now getting to. Alex donated $9.99. Thank you, Alex. That's incredible. No question. $4.99 from Grandma Gonad. Just because you're an indispensable asset to our hobby. Oh, thank you for that. And then FPV Danny says, can you please explain what Express RS receiver to get for my Cinewhoop? I don't understand Gemini diversity. I have just ordered a Radar Master Boxer. So, okay. Diversity is the receiver's ability to use one of two antennas. So, you could have a vertical antenna and a horizontal antenna, and it will choose the one with the best signal. Now, there are two types of diversity as well, just to make it complicated. You've got antenna diversity, which is it simply chooses the different antennas. And then you've got receiver diversity. And what receiver diversity is, it's not just two antennas, it's two RF receivers. Now, the benefit to receiver diversity is it can use Gemini, which means it can use both of the receivers at the same time on different frequencies, whereas antenna diversity can't. It can only use either of the antennas, it cannot use them at the same time. So a normal receiver has one antenna, it can only use one at the same time. An antenna diversity receiver has two antennas, of which it can use one of the two at the same time. A true diversity receiver with RF diversity can use either antenna at the same time and even receive the signal at the same time on two different frequencies. Now, as for what receiver to buy, it depends your quad. Did you say you've ordered a Boxer? If you've ordered a Boxer, something along the lines, right, on the Boxer of something like the RP1 version 2 will be perfect for most people. Okay? That will be perfect for most people out there. It will do most of what you want to do. If we then look at the RP3, this is what I said earlier was an antenna diversity receiver. When you look at this, right, you've got two antennas, but there's one chipset. Can you see down there on the board? There's only one chipset for the antenna. So they both come in to there. If I just open this in a new image, and no, I don't want to save it. I want to open it in a new tab. And if we go right in on this, right, we're going to go right in. You can see the two antennas link down to the same chip. Both of them go into the same chip. It's diversity. It can use one or the other. It can't use both. It still offers benefits because you can have one horizontal, one vertical, but it cannot use both at the same time. You then got like this thing, which is true diversity. Two antennas, but if you now look, two chipsets. So if we open this in a new tab and scroll in, so if you look at the fundamental difference, each antenna now has its own chipset rather than the two antennas going into one chipset. So you've got single antenna diversity or RF true diversity. The benefit of RF true diversity versus antenna diversity is the fact that it can use Gemini. Gemini allows it to transmit at the same time on two different frequencies to allow you to have redundancy. Think of it like having a transmission on 800 megs and a transition on 850. And if one doesn't make it through, it picks up the other one. One's on 2.41, one's on 2.42, and then it picks up the other one. The reality is most people only need a standard receiver. If you're thinking about what receiver to get, if you've bought a Boxer and you haven't bought an LR-based radio, get yourself the RP1. Something like the RP1. Something like that. There are cheaper Express LRS receivers out there. There are so many, it's hard to recommend one over another. I personally tend to stick with the Radio Master. Yes, I have the DCM DJI folder. I can write stuff to the folder, put my own file in there. It stays there after a reboot. It's just really weird. I only have one E unit, so it's hard to test. Definitely check that setting on goggles is set to both, Stu. Did you say you were on goggles N3? Let me just check it on N3 as well. Let me just in case there is some funky quirk. Because when I tested that first time, that was G3. So I got to bind. Okay. Let me just power up the Boxer. We'll do one more test for you, Stu, just to check it works fine on mine. Just in case.
Welcome to HDX. Switch warning.
So I'm just checking the settings on this before I do it. Record both. Yeah, mine is set to record on both. So I'm just gonna Did you guys see that? Let me just put my hand on top of it. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that? I had my hand down on the throttle as well. I'm just going to hold it down. That was a bit... uh-oh. Auto record's not turned on. Or is it not working? No, it's not turned on. Idiot. Try that again. Its recording failed on the goggles, but that's fine. There isn't an SD card in it. That should be enough. That was close. That was awfully close. There are times you do things that sort of go... it took off with the battery attached. Props off, baby, yeah. Okay, let me just double check that did record, Stu, just on this one. Yeah, look, that's the N2s. Should we have a look at the first one? Let's see, because is this the one where it took off? Oh no, it wouldn't have recorded. Because it wasn't set to auto record, was it? That's a bugger. So we missed the onboard from that. That's annoying. We didn't get the onboard from the auto takeoff. Yeah, no, look, it's fine on N3. That's a shame. It would have been nice to have seen that on camera, wouldn't it? Sorry, Stu, it's got to be that side. Something, it could be a bad air unit. That's the only thing I can say. Right. Before we wrap this one up tonight, so. Yeah, send me a message. Look, Stu, I'm travelling for a few days, but look, if anything I can help with, let me know. Okay, couple of things. I have a video coming on power supplies and chargers. I've built a really quite nice server power supply. If you need to get yourself a power supply for FPV, buy yourself a £20, $20 server supply. I've customised it with a nice 3D printed end and a power switch and cables. But there's a video talking about chargers and power supplies, and that's coming really soon. I paid 18 quid for this supply on eBay. Is this 800 watts? 800 watts power supply for like 17 quid. These are amazing value if you want to get yourself a proper power supply. So there's a video on that coming soon as well, which is really cool. And the last thing I just want to touch on is 3D printers, because I haven't spoke about any for a while. Now, Prusa, right, have their new printer that's come out. When that quad took off, it also took half the keys off my keyboard. That's annoying. Let me just put my keycaps back on. We've lost one. Okay, we'll look for that after. So Prusa have the Core 1, which looks really interesting. Really interesting does the Core 1. Although, what a price. For what is basically a P1S, I think it is a lot of money. I would love to give it a try. Genuinely would love to try this printer out. I don't know if I can justify spending £1,000 on this, honestly. I think, though, it is a very nice looking bit of kit, and it's nice to see Prusa sort of come back into something that is competitive. When they make it in the US, will outlast P1S. I don't know if it can outlast a P1S. My P1S is phenomenal. Phenomenal is my P. I love my P1S. Honestly, that's what I printed today. It's ridiculous. So look, this is a very nice printer, although I think there are elements of it that they need to do a bit better on, but I would love to try it. But alongside this is launching this week, which is the Centauri Carbon from Elegoo. Now, what is interesting about this is the price, because this thing is seriously cheap in comparison. They're talking, I think, $500-600 for this. I think is what I've seen the pricing coming out at. Someone said actually 750 to 800 shipped. Which is, I watched a couple of the reviews on it today, and it's not quite got the quality of the other printers, but it's a little bit faster. But for the money, hardened nozzle, hardened gears, doesn't have an AMS option. This is looking very, very interesting indeed. Very interesting. Now, would I recommend this over an X1 or a P1S? I think it's really hard to recommend anything over the P1S. The P1S is just phenomenal. It is the Phantom 3 of 3D printers. For those who've been around the drone industry for long enough, it is phenomenal. But this does look very interesting. P1S combo is 700 quid. It's a no-brainer. Agreed. And even the A1 and the A1 Mini is a no-brainer when you look at it. But it is nice to see. This has really piqued my interest. This has. But look, with all of the noise around Bamboo's, making changes, this isn't perfect either. This is running what looks to be a closed, customized version of Clipper. It's not open source. There's no talk on if this is going to be open source either. So this isn't any better from that side of things. You might have a bit more access, but it certainly isn't open source. But that isn't to say you wouldn't be able to flash it with stock Clipper if you didn't want to. Here's the interesting thing, though, and I've had this comment a few times. Even less, $350 to $500, some channels mentioned. That is crazy if it's that cheap. Where Bamboo excels and polishes is firmware, slicer, filament, perfect every time. Yeah, 100%. What is interesting about all of this is, you got to remember, these guys don't pay for software, and this is the bit that Bamboo make look really easy. Look, there's been rumours and whispers for, you know, people keep making lies up, like saying Bamboo is using Clipper. It's not using Clipper. Bamboo is their own software. It's been confirmed it's their own software. People have hacked it and gone, no, it's not anyone else's. It's not Clipper. It's not anyone else's. Bamboo are paying for that software development. These guys are basically banging out hardware with free software. They might be making some tweaks, but they're not designing their own slicer. You know, it's Clipper. It's Clipper, running Fluid, running all of the usual stuff. Bamboo wrote their own driver firmware too. 100%. Bamboo did everything. And that's what you got to take into account, what you're getting with Bamboo. I am genuinely interested in this. Just for my love of Prusa. Because my Mark II was the best printer I had ever owned until the Bamboos. The Bamboos changed everything. But my Mark IIIS. What about the new K3? Not really looked at any of the new Crealities. I haven't heard from Creality for a long time. I was a bit disappointed in Creality when they released the K2C because they lied, and I called them out on that, and that probably took me off the review cycle. This is genuinely interesting from a Prusa perspective. But it's still hard to beat the Bamboo. Being honest, you're never going to beat the Bamboo. You're just not. But look, it's nice to see them come back with something. So the noises sounded like it's dying. But the AMS is actually really... The K1C. Being punished for being honest when you know you're doing it right. Yeah, I haven't heard from Creality since I called them out on their all-metal hot extruder, which they'd lied about. And not a thing since. I haven't really even... I'll be honest, I haven't chased any of the 3D printing companies. I had a lot to do. I did so many printers in such a short period of time. It needed to calm down a bit, if I'm honest. I was getting offers of printers every week. Honestly, once one of the Chinese companies realized you were reviewing printers, they were like, I could have genuinely, guys, and I'm not lying here, I could have had 200 3D printers. Honestly, it was like, one point I was getting 10 offers a week. It was insane. But it was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I like the K1C. It's okay for what it is. The K2 definitely looked quite interesting. Where's the K2 on the site? What is wrong with... There it is. The K2 definitely looks interesting. A lot of money, though. Look at that. 1,200 quid. It's a big printer, though. It's a 350 by 350. It's a 350 by 350. Honestly, anyone, though, who is looking to get a 3D printer today, if you're starting out, go and get yourself an A1 or an A1 Mini. From a price perspective, Don't even think about anything else. That is actually a really nice looking printer. It's a big bed though. A1 Mini is all you need for FPV, 100%. You don't need any more for FPV. But the Elegoo is Elegoo. Depending on the price, right, that could be a real astonisher. The A1 Mini is just phenomenal at its cost, its performance. It is brilliant. As an everyday printer, P1S. You know, that was printed on the P1S, yes, this morning. You know, this is old filament. It's been laying around. It's just, look, it's a basic print. Nothing special about it. But I just love how you can rely on it. Little bit of ringing around the hole there, look. Little bit. But absolutely just a phenomenal tool that I use on a daily basis. What I love about the P1, right, is you can just turn it on and say, do it, and it's done. And I never turn that printer off. It's there now, it's on, look, it's on now. It's always on. It's there. The A1 is set up with TPU on it. I just leave TPU on the A1. So when I need something, I lift the stuff off the bed and hit print. It's ready to go. It's all set up with TPU. I leave it in the room. I let it get wet. I don't care. And then the X1 is next to it, which is turned off. Which is, the X1 gets used, but I don't leave the X1 on. Yeah, it's, but that thing there is just a beast, a machine, and it just works every day. It's a tool. Look, I'm extremely lucky. I am a very, very lucky person. But honestly, I have 400 hours on my PMS. I had no idea what I'd use it for. Yeah, look, it's just phenomenal. Right, guys, we're going to call it quits on tonight's stream. Thank you very much for watching. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone on... Oh, the last super chat I missed. Australian dollar, $7.99. Ian, could you please compare the SWR and weight savings with the heat shrink removed on the O4 light antenna? Okay, I'll have to do some tests. That's it from me. Look after yourself. Stay safe. What model number is on the power supply? Someone asked. It is the DPS-800-AB-11A. Very cheap. Very findable. Really cheap power supply for the money. If you're looking to get yourself one, it'll be in the video. I will talk about it. There it is there if you want to see it. 800 watts of power. 12 volt DC. These things are so cheap, they're crazy. And you could build yourself a really nice bench 12 volt power supply with it. Absolutely phenomenal bit of kit for the money. Happy Super Bowl, everyone. As you've said, look after yourselves. Stay safe. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Thanks to everyone for the super chats. Please do check out FPV Wiki. Check out my Patreon. I'll speak to you soon.